Howdy, welcome to our onboarding video 2. And in this video, all I'm going to do is talk to you about cultural differences and then talk about how those cultural differences have led me to build a company the way they are, but also, what my expectation is as you're doing estimating. And so let's talk about something that's not cultural at all, something that's just reality. The labor rate in the United States is extremely high compared to the labor rate in the Philippines. And so just because of that fact, we do a lot of things differently here in the United States than how you guys do. So let's take creating a set of plans, just as an example. I could draw the most detailed set of plan in the world, and I might spend 500 hours on it. Just a guess, right? But what if I drew a plan that didn't have anywhere near as much detail, but was mostly correct, and I only spent 200 hours on it? Well, if it's $3 an hour, the difference in there is 300 hours is $900. So if there's a $900 mistake in that set of plans, it's worth it for me to spend the time to go and, really spend the 500 hours to do it. But here's what I want to explain to you guys. The billable rate for an architect in the United States at a minimum is $50. So now those mistakes need to be $15,000 for it to make sense for the free market. See, we have capitalism here. The market will figure it out. The market has decided that we don't need perfect plans because we don't want to spend this much money. I mean, that's at 50. I think a billable rate, probably more like 30,000. It's probably more like $100 an hour. And you got to understand that that's a blended rate. And you guys will learn that in estimating. I might pay the guy on the ground $25, but my actual cost to have him there is closer to 35 or 40 because I got to pay his insurance and then the taxes, and I got to train him for time he ain't doing. I got all these different things I got to do, so it adds on to the cost. Most of the time, it's 30, 40, or 50% higher. It's significantly higher. So even if a guy's only making $100,000 a year, I'm still spending $150,000 to have him. It's expensive here in the United States. So what happens? You don't have a perfect set of plans. And we don't really care about the little things the way that you guys do. Let me give you an example. I have one client across all divisions that takes off the fasteners, nails, screws, the little pieces. We usually don't take those off. You know why? Because we just go out and we just give them a big box, and if they run out, it's not worth our time to sit there and try and count and manage those things because management time is very expensive. So when you're doing an estimate, Filipinos come in and they want to be very, very precise. And I get it. You guys are a very strict and precise society, but it's compounded by the fact that you probably take off very particular items that we don't care about because $3 is worth the 10 minutes to do it. But for us, it's not really worth it. You got to understand this. There's 60 minutes in an hour, right? So if I pay someone $60 an hour and there's 60 minutes, that means every minute is worth $1. So those little pieces, they're just not worth it. And then there's the problem that, especially on the little things, when you get to a job site, you're paying someone so much that you are not going to manage a $1 fitting. Like I have a box in my house of stuff that people left here that I can use for things. I got little, PEX elbows, and I got boxes, electrical boxes that go on the wall. I got all kinds of stuff because they just leave them behind. Yeah, they're $2. They forgot them, and they don't spend the time that you guys do. So when we talk about estimating, right, your job as an estimator becomes very, very, very different here in the United States than what it is over in the Philippines. I'm going to give you an example of a job that I'm working on right now that I just QC'd. I sent it out today. We priced everything. This is a true example of a job that we're doing. So just so that you can see the job, this is a Huey Magoo's Chicken Tenders. So it's a restaurant. And basically what they have is they have this existing building right here, and they're keeping the bathrooms basically the same. So that's this section, and everything else is being gutted. All these walls are being removed right here. They have kind of an entryway and a lobby, and then they have a brand new kitchen that's coming in the back of the house. So when I show you the plumbing plan here, you can see the lobby is all here, the bathrooms are here, and what have you is going on. So let's pause for a second. Let's say that you want to design this set of plans, okay? And you are going to be the architect and you're going to be the engineer. They are paid by a developer or an owner, whatever you want to call it. Someone owns this building and needs to get this thing built, okay? In this case, it could be the restaurant itself owns it. It could be a franchisee. It could be the building owner did a contract with this restaurant and said, I'll build this out for you. There's a bunch of different people that it could be, but someone owns it and someone's building it, right? So they hire an architect and an engineer. And in your mind, the job of the architect and the engineer is to draw the best set of plans possible. Owner does not give a shit. He does not care. Do you know what he cares about? He wants to get the permit. Give me the permit as fast as you can so that I can go build it. And then once you get the permit, he gets a general contractor and gives him that permit. He says, go build it. And he says, go build it as fast as you can, basically. Because for every month that it sits is a lot of money. Think of it this way. Let's say that you've got a chicken tender place, right? This restaurant. You're going to expect to make $20,000 a month in this restaurant. Maybe. Maybe more, maybe less. But you've got the money you didn't make because you didn't open in time, plus the rent for the place that's there, plus the taxes. You might have $50,000 a month in a swing from 1 month. So I don't want the best set of plans. What I want is to build this thing as fast as humanly possible because every month of delay is a lot of money. I have seen holding costs on multifamily apartment complexes be over $100,000 a month. $100,000 US. So heavy details? No. Let me show you one of the details. So they're demoing it. I just showed you the demolition, right? They have this thing here. It says existing water heater, and it's note 10. And note 10 says, existing water heater to remain clean like new condition. I can tell you what this means. There's a water heater somewhere. The guy probably walked it once. Might have even had somebody else walk it, who's cheaper, like an intern or something. Go walk it, take pictures of everything, come back and give it to me, and then I'll work it out. Seriously. So there's stuff that's there. There's an HVAC unit on the roof. There's plumbing in the walls. There's a water heater over there. He looked at the water heater and he said, clean that thing up and make sure it works. That's it. That's it. So when you're doing an estimate, people in the Philippines, especially when you come in the first time, they go, oh, you need a line item for clean. No, brother, you need a line item to make sure it works. I'm serious. It might not work. It might just, you don't know how old it is. It doesn't say. So one of the things that you need to have when you write your proposal is an assumption there that says, we are assuming that the water heater is going to work and we're going to charge you 4 hours of labor to clean it. Something like that. Same thing with the HVAC units on the roof. They don't go around and poke them. Sometimes there's no power to the building when they go in because they turn the meter off. Building's abandoned or vacant or whatever. So you can't test them to see what's there. You can do all the drawing and tracing on the page that you want to do as an estimator. You can get super precise, do all these different things. The estimator who did this job didn't write that out. This could be a $10,000 job. Sorry about that. It could be $10,000 that he missed. Singular note. Now, a good general contractor, what's going to happen is they're going to send an email back when you send in your proposal and say, did you put in an allowance for the water heater? That's a good general contractor because they know their job and they're going to do it right. A bad one says, sure, looks good, and then gets into an argument with you on the job site, tries to hold your pay from you, and tries to force you to fix this water heater because you were the low bid. And now you've screwed your client. So one thing I want you to understand, there's no points for second place. You can't get kind of close on an estimate. You need to get the estimate, and you need to do it correctly. So, how do we get there? How do I, as a business, get to the point where I can teach you how to do this? Because I know how to do it. I just priced out a $14 million office building. Guy said it looked great. I charged $200 an hour for my time. He didn't even blink. He didn't even blink, right? Okay. How do I get you to do that? Let's sit here. Let's talk. I'm going to sit up on this one because it irritates me. So I'm doing this plumbing stuff, right? and our plumbing group is in shambles. And I'll tell you what happened. I'm not shy about it. This has happened 3 times in the history of Bold Estimation. Every time it goes exactly the same. I'm telling you, it's a cultural thing. Okay. I hire a manager to start doing work. Now, the problem that I've had consistently is culturally, you don't want to talk to the owner. You don't want to talk to me. I start talking, and you get scared. You go, yes, sir, a lot of yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. Yes, sir, what? Like, do you really know what you're doing? The communication process isn't there. It's just not. And let me showcase something that happened on this job, okay? This is me, right? I got this gas plan. So they have these new fryers here, right? It's a chicken restaurant. They do French fries and chicken tenders in it. They have a valve right here. The valve is on a detail. It's a disconnect. It's this one. They have a gas quick connect detail here, right? I've never done a gas quick disconnect in my life. I've never built a restaurant. I've built other things, but like an office building won't have a quick disconnect thing. They won't have it. So I don't know how much it was. So you know what I did? I reached out to our client, and when I delivered the job, I put a big note there. I said, I don't know how much this is. These valves are. You need to help me price it. And he said, okay, I'll take a look. That's literally 3 words. Okay, I'll take 4 words, 5 words. Okay, I'll take a look. That's it. And he's going to look at it and go, a couple $100 or whatever they are. I don't know. And I'll come back to him and say, what'd you come up with? And that's growth, and that's building up, right? Doesn't happen in the Philippines. I don't know why. I just know that for so many people in the Philippines, what happens is I hire a manager. Everything has to go through that manager. And I have a great general manager. Her name is Riza. She's going to be here forever. I try to make videos that will last forever. Riza will be here forever. She's so dependable. She's so great at what she does. You can learn a lot from her. One of the main reasons that Riza is our general manager is literally that she just talked to me. Like from day one, she came in. How are you, Sean? What's going on? And just asked me questions. Sean, I don't know what this is. She actually just asked questions. It is not acceptable to come in here, do your best, and then just throw it at a manager and say, figure out what I was doing. You have to communicate. And if that means you need to sit down and have a one-on-one call and kind of go through things, okay. That's the job. When we onboard a new client, I'm looking at the multiple calls that I made today. They're well over an hour most times. We sit down and we hash out what we're doing so that we're both on the same page. We don't onboard clients here in the United States. It would be weird for a client to come to me and say, okay, yes, I'd like to start, and not sit down with me for an hour. That would be weird. It would be very, very strange because we need to hash out the finer details. Now, as you come into this estimation process, it's very weird to get someone to sit down with me for an hour and review what they're doing. I can't do it. I can't do it because there are so many estimators in the Philippines that come into this company, and I ask them a question. What'd you do there? They're almost shaking in fear. I don't know why. Just, what'd you do? You could do it wrong. Like, I'm telling you, you will come in and you will do it wrong. I don't know how those gas valves work. I will figure it out, and I will tell him, and I will make sure that we're communicating, and that's my expectation. So here's one of the things that happened, and I don't think it's going to happen again because I've changed my management process and what have you. I had a plumbing manager, and I was desperate. I know where I was. I was very desperate. I had a good client coming in, very detailed, very organized, very smart client, and I had a batch of trainees come in. It was my first client for HVAC that I think was a real client. I mean, I had other ones that were a little bit part-time and wanted this or that, and I QC'd and managed it a lot, but I finally had one. So I had a guy with a ton of experience. He was 45 years old. He'd done tons of stuff, managed 20, 30, 40, 50 people, whatever he managed. And you could tell he carried himself, and he was much more serious, I think, than some other people. So I hired him at a big-time salary. He never got better. He came into this job with more knowledge than you will have, I think. I mean, he could basically almost design an entire office building and then do the takeoff and get it down to the fasteners. He did a phenomenal job at it. But that didn't matter. It didn't matter. You know why? Couldn't learn how to communicate with staff, couldn't get you to communicate with him, couldn't hold things to a standard. And as he began to scale, if he personally did the work, sure, it went well. I can't tell you the number of people in his division that just did not improve, just consistently didn't improve. And so if you watched the first video and you thought, oh man, this guy's real difficult, by the time he got to 4 people in his group, that was it. He took over plumbing because HVAC and plumbing, mechanical and plumbing, a lot of the contractors we have do both. In fact, most of the big guys do both because they work around each other a lot. They're on site at the same time. The condensate line from the HVAC goes into plumbing stacks most times. So you're kind of already working with each other. So a lot of times they do both. So he had 3 clients. He had an estimator quit unexpectedly. Absolutely no notice whatsoever, which is another Filipino thing. And I'm going to show you as we keep going. He had another one have a personal family problem, didn't tell us. That's another Filipino thing. I have people out right now. Like I have managers out right now. I've got multiple screens here. I know who's out. I got one, her kid is sick. She's got to go. Okay, that's fine. I've got another who's sick. Hey, you take the time that you need. I'm telling you this. I'm outing myself for the first time here. I'm going to tell it on the onboarding. I have never denied someone who asked for time off. In fact, over 50% of the time that people ask for time off, I tell them to take an extra day. I've got a guy that's about to get married, shoot, I'm just thinking about that. He's about to get married, and he wanted 3 days. I said, dude, just take the whole week. Don't worry about it. Come back and enjoy yourself, So in the United States, we communicate, and I have what I would consider a work hard, play hard kind of scenario. As soon as this division started scaling, you could see the problems come through. Clients were not paying their invoices. Yeah, I have to deal with that. I'm going to pay your salary for the most part, but clients weren't paying invoices. Tons of negative feedback. They were losing their relationships. They were losing their clients. It's a big responsibility. When we fail, or clients fail, if they're going to depend on us and trust us, then what happens when we lose that trust? Well, to this one manager, I've seen it before. They get burned out, they get whatever. He was upset with me because I was arguing with him that he wasn't working with the trainees hard enough. And the main thing I was saying? He wasn't hard enough. You have got to hold them to a standard. You've got to come in and be aggressive and demand equality from someone. If you go into the military or you become a professional athlete, they're not friendly environments. It's not people sitting around in the military going, please, sir, would you do this? Hell no. They're going to yell at you. And they're going to do it because it's a serious situation. So I carry that about myself. Couldn't get this manager to do it for 6 months. All his people are quitting and what have you. And, he imploded. Then he got upset because I was trying to step in and take his clients from him and this and that. Then he put in a resignation. And after he resigned, we lost multiple clients, basically all at once because we couldn't manage anything. He didn't develop a team, all these different things. So, some people on his team, they got nervous. And they get nervous talking to me, and it puts me in such a situation that there's nothing I can do. There's literally nothing I can do. I remember this happened on a different manager almost a year ago. And I told this guy, I said, his name was Sam. Sam, you can manage this. You know how to do the job. But if you don't hop on a video call with me in the next 24 hours, I have to fire you because I need to talk to you and give you feedback. I never heard from him again. I still think about it. There are still nights. I'm drinking a beer. It's like 5:30. Cheers, huh? There are still nights that I sit in bed and I think to myself, imagine if I told you that I thought you could be manager, you know what you need to do, just go out and do it and work and communicate with me, and you didn't want to communicate so much so that you gave up an entire month's salary and just vanished. I can tell you this, it has never happened in the United States. I've never had anybody not asked to get paid in the U.S. In fact, they're quite aggressive about it, I will tell you that much, right? But that's happened here. you guys don't like mixing your personal and your business. Well, you have to. I was thinking, the guy who was getting married, I was thinking, man, I could really use his help on this new client I got today. And then I thought, he's getting married. And immediately in my mind, well, he can't. So I have to work around it. So I will work around it and help and do everything that I can. And here's what I have to work around. I got a new plumbing manager in the interim, right? The one guy fired, quit, whatever we want to call it. He resigned, but he was about 2 weeks away from getting fired. He didn't realize it yet. And then we get a new manager in. What happens to this manager? I pour into him. Because you got to understand, I don't have anyone else right now. I have one client. I'm just trying to salvage this one client, just trying to make it work, right? Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. So here's what happens. After 2 weeks, constantly, I'm talking to him every day, video call with him every other day. He comes back. I'm not going to tell you his name. He says, "Hi, Sean. Due to personal reasons, I've decided to resign from my job. Thanks for the opportunity to learn and earn, working with everyone. Wish prosperity for the company." That's it. That's it. That's all I get. So I just spent weeks working with somebody. So you got to understand, part of the reason that we have this process and we're so hard on you and we're so aggressive and you have to communicate and I'm not going to allow the same things that have happened historically in my company to continue to happen. I don't have managers that don't communicate anymore. I've got one I'm thinking about it. I'm working with her every single day on communication. Every single day, and I will. And I think she's going to make it because one of the things, you guys resign from the stress or from what I know it's stressful. I know that it's stressful. Working in the United States is more stressful than working in the Philippines, for sure. You're a subcontractor. You've got to deal with all this crap. You've got to make sure that the plans don't suck, and if they do, you've got to get the proposal right, and you've got to get it done on time and with quality and make sure everybody shows up and all this. You've got to do all this shit to make 10%, It's not like most of these guys are getting super rich. So we've got to come in and we've got to do a good job. And so because of that, there's a real stress involved with it. But we make a lot more money than you guys do. And a huge part of that is that we are very, very competitive in this mindset. So if you can't step up and get into the game, and I think part of that is when you're on the calls, you can't be shaken and sad and all. You have to be ready to go, I don't know the answer. What is this? Let me go in and do this. You don't look stupid because you asked a question. You look really stupid because you don't ask any question. We don't have the same hierarchical structure. You want to talk to me, the owner? Find me on Skype. It can't be that hard, right? Just ask. I don't mind talking to anybody in this company. I'll get to 1,000 employees, and I bet I'll still talk to somebody who we just hired. And that's okay, So the encouragement here, the take home from all of this, I started by talking about the plans. Look, you've got to learn estimating beyond what is written on that page. And in order for you to do that, you have to communicate. And regardless of what you know, every project will have some kind of a question or thing that you have to communicate. A bad detail, maybe a unique thing for the client. There's going to be something that you have to communicate. And if you don't communicate, you're never going to be a good estimator. And in order to grow in this company, I want you to get to manager. Managing is about communication. It is. And a bad manager will tank a division, will destroy lives, will do very bad things. I think some of the staff that, whenever I lose a manager, it's like a lot of the staff, they get really scared. They don't want to say anything. They try to keep their head down. It's almost like when a manager leaves, it's like the staff feel like they're about to get fired. You guys get so scared. I would have loved for anybody in the division to say, I know he just left and you have a vacancy. I'd like you to consider me to be manager. Anybody that had asked me, they would have gotten it for sure, 100% sure. There were 4 guys, any one of them that had that kind of a confidence and that willingness to communicate and that drive. They would have been very successful. I would have given it to them. I would have said for sure. This is what I do. I say, your salary is going to stay the same this month. Let's see how it goes. You do a great job. I'll bonus you at the end of the month. and I'll raise your salary next month. That's what I like to do. I don't like to set expectations. If I set an expectation, I'll pay you $3,000 a month or whatever, what if you suck? Now I got to fire you or something. I don't put myself in that situation. I say, show me what you got. So show me what you got. Let's get it.